Hey everybody, thank you all for joining our and welcome to our Keep Stakedrop event. We're super grateful that you took the time out of your day to join us. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the CEO of Thesis, project lead at Keep, and the monetary maximalist, Matt Luongo. Here he is.
Thanks, Chris. Hey guys, excited for everyone to be here. Welcome. So apologies in advance. I love the troll box. And so if you see me peeking over there, I have a tendency to be over-engaged with chat. But yeah, so welcome to the kickoff for Keep and TBTC's Stakedrop. Just to make sure you all know you're in the right room, the idea is that you will be able to stake ETH and earn Keep to become a signer in TBTC. So I'm going to quickly go over the project and then talk a little bit more like high level, and then we'll get into the details. So first, why stake for Keep? Well, going back, a bit about me, a bit about our company, and then we can talk about why you might want to stake. So I've been in the space since 2014, started a Bitcoin company called Fold, which has since spun out. We since then started working on a new project in 2017 called Keep. Keep is a privacy, censorship resistance, and interoperability layer for Ethereum. And as we built, we started asking ourselves, like, we built this developer platform. It's great. We know what it's good for, but who's going to build the first app? So in 2019, we decided that we would, and we started working on TBTC. TBTC is a bridge between Bitcoin and Ethereum. If you're used to Bitcoin terminology, it's a Bitcoin sidechain on Ethereum. If you're more familiar with Ethereum, and I imagine many of you are, it's basically a trustless replacement for something like WBTC. There's no middleman in the middle. Anyone can take their Bitcoin and deposit it on Ethereum, trade it, move it around, do whatever you want with smart contracts or DeFi, use Ethereum's various scaling solutions, and then redeem for Bitcoin on Bitcoin's L1 whenever you'd like. So that's the basic idea behind TBTC. There's a lot more that you can do with it. We can talk about cool privacy stuff like Tornado Cash. We can talk about all sorts of DeFi. But the part that we're focused on is just bringing Bitcoin to Ethereum without intermediaries or the ability to censor. So what that means for you guys here is there's kind of a question of who is going to bring Bitcoin to Ethereum. Obviously, the dev team has been working hard, but at the end of the day, the way that TBTC works, there has to be off-chain actors who can actually bridge each chain. So we need to find those off-chain actors, and I'm hoping you guys are a lot of them. So we came up with this idea for a Stakedrop. We have a mechanism where anyone can stake Keep, and they can actually use that to support Bitcoin coming onto Ethereum and minting TBTC. But we need a good way to get it to the right people's hands. So what the Stakedrop lets people do is take your ETH, stake it on mainnet, prove that you're a good staker, which means not turning your machine off at the wrong time. It means actually watching the market. There's a whole wide variety of things you're going to want to do to be a successful staker. And then once you've proven that you do that on mainnet, you're given Keep. All of this happens through a smart contract. So you definitely don't need to do any sort of KYC. You don't need to ask my permission or anyone else on the team. I'm going to try to ignore chat there. And yeah, so you'll be able to just get involved at your own pace and from home. So why stake for Keep? Aside from our mission of bringing Bitcoin to Ethereum, I also expect that it's going to make some money, right? So 20% of the Keep token supply is being distributed in the Stakedrop. And I'll start going through some of the dates right now. Yeah, that's me. There's Keep. Yep, there's TBTC. Let's keep going. Okay, so if it's not clear to anyone, Keep is a work token. So what this token does is it's staked and you're selected for work. So what is work? The initial Keep network has two primary uses. One is the random beacon, and the other is what's called ECDSA keeps. So every time someone requests, for example, a random number, every time someone requests a new Bitcoin wallet on mainnet, what happens is this random beacon is used to choose from keep stakers. And then based on how much keep you have staked, you will be chosen to do a particular job. If you do it well, you earn rewards. So what that means for TBTC, if you're a signer in TBTC, is that you're chosen for a particular deposit and you earn part of the Bitcoin that's been deposited. If you are a staker in the random beacon, you earn part of the ETH that goes to pay for the random number generation. So that's kind of the core of what Keep is all about, as a token, I mean. So how does the stake drop actually work? First, it's 20% of Keep's total supply. So actually this week we'll have a transparency report going live with Masari, and I'm happy to answer questions either here or in Discord about the rest, the other 80% and where it's gone. But to give you guys just a quick high level that's not in this slide, 35% of this has gone to private investors. Around 10% has gone to the team, 5% to advisors, 25% has gone to, please God, don't follow that random ETH address in the chat. 25% has gone to Keep SECC, the company, and then another 25% is being distributed to the public. 20% to the stake drop, and then 5% to liquidity rewards that we'll be talking about in a couple months. So here's the rough idea of how it works. When you stake your ETH on mainnet, it looks quite similar to staking Keep on Ropsten. But the difference is you don't have any Keep. So from a couple weeks from now until actually this is going to last a total of 24 months, you'll be able to take your ETH, stake it using the same interface that you stake Keep, and then in your rewards, you'll actually find Keep. But to go into a little bit more detail, most of the stake drop is going to be exhausted in 6 to 7 months. Over 10% of the supply will happen in the first 6 months. And then after that, the rewards are going to start to go down. So it's really important that you get involved as soon as possible if you want to get good returns and be a part of the network. The other stuff here that's interesting is that while staking ETH is going to win you Keep, staking Keep and ETH and becoming a signer on mainnet is actually going to yield quite a bit more rewards. You'll earn TBTC, you'll earn Keep, the subsidy that's going out, and then you'll also earn ETH for the random beacon. So it's something like you're going to earn something like at least an additional 10%. And then to answer this question around ETH being locked for 6 months, just because it's super relevant here. So it's worth understanding for everyone on this call, and this is going to sound a little weird, no gains are socialized. So when you put your ETH in to the system and you run a node, your ETH is only used if you're chosen. So if your ETH is chosen, if you were chosen to be behind a particular deposit, that means you're going to get a reward. Now, once a TBTC deposit has been open and you've been chosen as a signer to be behind that deposit could last for a day or it could last for 6 months. So if that deposit goes on for 6 months, your ETH is locked up for 6 months, period. If that deposit only lasts a week, fantastic, you get your ETH back and you can make more use of the capital. Now, I expect that on average, there will be some significant churn in and out of particular deposits. And frankly, as a signer, if you want to free up your capital, you can actually close your own deposits. There's some very particular circumstances where you can't, but for the most part, you can close your own. So if you don't want your ETH, first, if you don't want your ETH locked up for 6 months, this probably isn't a good event for you, frankly. But if you think that there might be demands on liquidity, there are ways for you to move your ETH out. It'll just cost a little bit more and maybe earn a little bit less than it would if you'd left it in the whole time. So, anyway, so as ETH holders, this larger population at the bottom here stake their ETH and are actually behind TBTC. They are upgraded and they earn Keep, and then they can be long-term stakers in the network. After around 6 or 7 months, being an ETH-only staker becomes less and less and less valuable. So here's why that matters. You really want to have gotten Keep as soon as possible, because then the subsidy is going to go more and more to Keep holders. And the idea is that once you've earned your first position staking ETH, then you can earn more keep staking keep. So yeah, so that's roughly how it works. I'm going to keep going through the slides here, but we'll try to collect up all questions at the end. So the rewards curve, this is pretty significant. Also, this axis is totally wrong, but it's fine. So this is roughly how the rewards curve looks. I'm going to tell you that this y-axis is off by, a lot. Overall, the whole curve adds up to around $25 million. So it's 20% of $120 million at the last private sale network valuation. And then what's going to happen is right now we're in month 2. ETH-only staking will get turned on month 3. And then you'll see that that's really when you want to make sure that you're the most involved and that you have a node set up, because then the next following few months are where the majority of tokens are going to go out. So we need you. We need a couple things. We need a robust, decentralized staker community. And that means, more people who are better, frankly. So more professional operators, folks who are really interested in getting to know the nuts and bolts of this stuff. You don't need to be a developer. You don't need to be some sort of like ops whiz, but you do need to care. You do need to be able to spend time and put energy into this to be good at it. So when and how, a couple dates that are important. So first, June 8th. So today, earn keep by staking on testnet. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about today at the end of this talk. Next, the ETH staking dashboard goes live. So there are a few other things that are going to happen in the middle here between June 8th and July 8th. One, we are upgrading the random beacon, which we haven't yet announced, but we'll share the details in Discord shortly. And then 2, we'll also be launching TBTC, what we're calling Release Candidate 1, so the relaunch of TBTC. And then finally, permissionless ETH staking is going to go live July 8th. So I know some people on this call probably have their ETH ready to go now, but the vast majority of people I've talked to don't. I highly, highly suggest that you get started on Ropsten today. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why. Once you're good on Ropsten, you'll be ready for ETH only to go live on mainnet. So when are the keep rewards? Right now. So while permissionless rewards start in July, everyone who successfully stakes on Ropsten this month is going to get keep. So for you guys who've been involved for a bit, we've been running a system called Playing for Keeps. And Playing for Keeps is an incentivized testnet. So if you stake on testnet and you do other works in the community, for example, you put together guides, you translate material, you help people learn how to stake, which I imagine a number of folks on this call will need help getting started, then you can get rewards. But in addition to that, we plan on giving an additional 500 keep to anyone who's able to stake on Ropsten by end of day tomorrow. So spin up a node on Ropsten. I'm going to hand this over to Sloan, who's our head of DevOps, and he'll give you guys a quick run through of how to actually stake, what this looks like on Ropsten, and then we'll go back to timelines and next steps on my part.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming to hang out today and talk about the Stakedrop. My name is Sloan, and I work on infrastructure here at Keep. And today, I'm going to walk all of you through going from a new Ethereum account to running a staked Keep ECDSA node on the Ropsten network. Before we get started, there are a couple housekeeping items that I want to go through. First and foremost, don't feel pressured to capture every detail of this demo. This call is being recorded, and all of the material that you'll see today on my screen is published on the internet. We'll make sure that's available for you guys after the session is over. Second, it is my intent to go through this live. However, Ropsten has been, checking the troll box. It looks like my internet connection isn't great. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I think maybe video off, your audio is not too bad.
How's that? Is that better?
Definitely.
Y'all hear me now? All right, let me step a little bit from the router as well while I'm at it. Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and take that from the top, just in case anybody missed anything. But just wanted to say thanks for joining today. My name's Sloan. I work on infrastructure at Keep. Today, I'm going to walk you through going from a new Ethereum account to a staked Keep ECDSA node running on the Ropsten network. There are a couple housekeeping items that I want to talk about first before we do that. First and foremost, don't worry about capturing every detail of the demo today. All the material that I go through and that you'll see on the screen is available online, and this call is being recorded. So second, it's my intent to do this live, but Ropsten hasn't been terribly cooperative over the last week or so. If that's the case today, I've got a prepared account that we can step through and kind of mock the live go through. Lastly, if you're not already on Discord, I strongly encourage you to join, especially in the staking channel. We've got a great group of community members that are already there, and they're experienced operators on the Ropsten network already, and they're a great resource for while you're getting up and running to work through the details. So I think that's all I've got for housekeeping items. So let's get started with the demo. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully the internet connection holds up. And yeah, so let's go. Okay. Alrighty. So I am going to have to switch back and forth between a couple screens. Apologies in advance for that. I'll try and keep the screen switching to a minimum. But this is the first screen I'm going to be on. I've got the notes for the demo up here in the upper right-hand corner. I have a text editor here that's available for me during the demo, and my console. So we'll step through this and then see how we do with the live bits. And then if I need to switch over to the account that's already set up, we'll go ahead and do that. But if you are following along or you want to pick this up later, at the top of the activity log, here's a detailed list of things that you need. You want to make sure you have an internet connection, which is funny given my current situation. A text editor. You want to make sure that you have MetaMask and a compatible web browser. So that's either Chrome, Firefox, or Brave. You want to make sure you have an Ethereum account with a key file and password for the account available. I used Geth for the demo, and you'll see that in just a second, but there's a couple ways to go about that. I think the important takeaway there is that you want to make sure that you have the actual key file and password handy. You will want to have some amount of Ropsten ETH. I know that can be particularly challenging. I have a link for the MetaMask faucet in the documentation. That seems to be the most reliable place to get Ropsten ETH, and you'll also need Docker. All right. So I have a directory prepared here with some files already set up. And since we're going from a new Ethereum account to a staked node, the first thing we need to do is actually create that account. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It'd help if I followed my own directions. All right, so I have a new account here. I'm going to paste this into a text file that I'm going to use later. All right, I also have my key file that was generated as part of the command I just ran a second ago. I'm going to copy this to a file that we're going to use later. All right. Have our key file set up. The next thing we want to do is, because we are using MetaMask, we want to take that account that we created and we want to go ahead and import that into MetaMask. So I'm going to switch screens here. Open MetaMask, which I'm already logged into. We are going to select import account. We want to do that via a JSON file, which was the key file that was generated when we created the account. Going to navigate here. All right, we found that key file that we created just a second ago. We want to import that. And we need to enter the password for that, which I've included in the demo branch. Please, 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 with real accounts, do not ever share any of this information on the internet or with anybody. This is a demo account. So I've gone ahead and just done the things that you're not supposed to do for the sake of the demo. All right, we've imported our account to MetaMask. I'm going to name this because I have a ton of accounts in here and I don't want to forget which one is which. All righty. The next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that there's a little bit of ETH on this account. So I'm going to go from one that has a little bit of money. We'll send one. We'll get two. We'll send 2 ETH over. I'm going to pump up the gas price a little bit here just to make sure we actually try and get these transactions done in time. This is where we're going to find out whether or not Ropsten is actually going to cooperate today for the live portion of the demo. If not, I'll switch over to one of the accounts that's already prepared. Looks like blocks are mining in a reasonable time, so hopefully this will go for us. We'll give this just a few more seconds, see if we can get a new block. Otherwise, I'll switch over. This is the fun part of doing it live. All right, it looks like that's still pending, so we'll just let that go and we'll switch over to one of the accounts that's already been prepared. So that won't be quite as interesting, but you'll still get the idea of what needs to happen. All right, so assuming that that went through, we've imported our account into MetaMask. We've added some ETH to that account. The next thing we need to do, because as Matt mentioned, ETH-only staking isn't available yet, we need to get some keep to use on Ropsten. And fortunately, we have a faucet for that, where you can get yourself a keep. And every request to the faucet gives you a token grant for 300,000 Ropsten keep. You can distribute this however you like across any number of operators. Right now, the minimum stake on Ropsten is 100,000 keep. So just keep that in mind when you go to actually stake that, and we'll look at that in just a moment. All right. But using the faucet, you just hit it from a web browser. I have a link for the documentation here. Oh, it looks like our transaction actually went through now. So that's good. Yep. All right. So we'll actually keep on with using this new account and see how it goes. All right. So to get our grant, I just copied the faucet address out of the documentation that I already prepared. And we want to use our new account that we created. Copy this out of my text file that I created earlier. Going to paste this in. And request a grant. Should everything go through, you'll get a screen like this. It'll just give you a summary that a token grant was created. You'll get a Ropsten Etherscan link to look at the transaction for that actual grant so you can monitor its progress. It'll also give you links for both Discord and to our token dashboard for Ropsten, which lets you manage all of your grants and stakes on the Ropsten network. So now what we can do is we can just take this link and follow it and see if our grant transaction will actually go through in a reasonable amount of time. Again, we're kind of beholden to Ropsten and its behavior here to see if this gets done in a timely fashion. While we wait on that transaction, I'll walk y'all through the dashboard with an account that's already been prepared though. All right, so let's pretend that this transaction has actually gone through. The next step that we want to do is go to our token dashboard. And when you come to the token dashboard, you'll have a couple different options to log in wallet-wise. Since we're using MetaMask today, that's what we'll go ahead and choose. Take just a second to load here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select one of the accounts that I've already set up for the purposes of the demo. So on this home screen, you'll see a few things. You'll see your token grant from the faucet. That should be a total of 300K. You see 200K here on my screen because this is an account that was prepared ahead of time, so there's already 100,000 keep staked. But what you'll want to do is once you have your grant and you're logged in with MetaMask, you'll want to stake at least 100,000 keep. And the little bar at the bottom here will let you know that you either do or don't have enough keep available. And then there's 3 fields here that you want to set. So we have authorizer, operator, and beneficiary address. For the sake of the testnet, you can set all 3 of these to the same thing, which would look something like this. Really quickly to touch on the high level of each one of these things, the authorizer is responsible for authorizing operators to act against your operator account. So when you go to onboard with the Keep network, there's a few contracts that interact with your operator account. And before those interactions can happen, you have to authorize those contracts to take actions on behalf of your operator. So the authorizer address is the person who, or the account who makes those authorizations possible. And I'll go through the authorization screen here in just a second. The operator address is the actual Ethereum account that will be operating on your Keep ECDSA node. That's the account that you need to have the key file and the password for handy because those will need to be on the node as well when you run. And lastly, the beneficiary address, that is the address where the rewards go to as you earn rewards on the network. So let me just double check this transaction real quick to see if it's still pending. It is. All right. So if we were going through this on the fresh account, the thing that we would do next is we would click delegate stake. You'll get a transaction pending pop up on the token dashboard. And when that completes, you'll see over here on the right-hand side, this little wheel showing you how much is staked out of your grant. Once we have a stake set up, the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and authorize those operator contracts that I spoke of a second ago. And if you come down here to the applications tab on the left-hand side, there is a section for TBTC, and that is where the Keep ECDSA operator contracts are authorized. We'll give that a second to load. Sorry about the internet. I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere. I ran a couple tests yesterday, but looks like it's being pretty slow today. In any case, this is the authorized contract screen. So you can see here that both of these operator contracts are already authorized. Again, that's because this is the account that I prepared ahead of time. Had this been the fresh account, instead of this saying authorized, there would be two buttons that just say authorize, which you can click. For Keep ECDSA, there are two operator contracts. The first one is this bonded ECDSA Keep Factory. It controls slashing your keep for misbehavior and network inactivity. So we have to authorize that to make sure that it can take actions when necessary on that respect. TBTC system is responsible for bonding your unbonded ETH when and if you are selected for a deposit. TBTC system takes your ETH that's available for bonding and actually gets that wound up in a bond. So we've got those two authorized, and you do need to authorize these contracts before you can actually participate on the network. It's just important to note here that this authorization mechanism exists so that when and if the Keep team upgrades contracts and we issue new ones, that you get to opt in to participating in those new operator contracts or not. So you can't we can't onboard you onto these contracts until you actually authorize them for each operator here. And it gives you time to explore the changes during upgrades and so on and so forth, and allows you to opt into those when you're ready. The last thing you see here on this screen is to add ETH for bonding. As part of running a ECDSA Keep, when you're selected for a Bitcoin deposit, each of the signers for that deposit have to put up a total of 150% collateralized bond for whatever the Bitcoin deposit amount is. So for you to be eligible to take deposits, you have to make ETH available to be tied up into these bonds. And you can do that here via this screen. You can add some ETH. It'll ask you how much you want to put in. I'm not going to do that because it's going to result in a Ropsten transaction that it's not going to go through due to the way it's behaving right now. But you can see that I have 0.5 available ETH here for deposits that I deposited earlier. So once you get through this step and you've made some ETH available for deposits, the operator contracts are authorized, you have delegated a stake, you're actually ready to start up your Keep ECDSA node. I'm going to go back here to the other screen. There are a few things that you'll need configuration-wise, and I can step through that. That's the wrong one. Let's see. That you'll need to prepare ahead of time to go with your Keep ECDSA node. And again, the documentation for how to actually set these configurations up and a configuration template is available in both the activity log that I have here on the right side of my screen and in the supplementing documentation that's already available online. Those links are here in the activity log, and we'll make sure that you have those in Discord as well. But there's really nothing too exciting in the configuration file. You need an Ethereum host to connect to. The key file that I mentioned earlier that you generate when you create the account, you'll need to have a path to that. There are a couple contract addresses that you'll need. We have those published in our documentation for Ropsten, but these do update from time to time because we deploy to Ropsten semi-frequently. We've got a new deployment that's actually probably going out next week. So we make sure to announce that on Discord when those releases do happen, but keep an eye on the documentation for the updated contract addresses, but we'll need to make sure that the most current contract addresses for Ropsten are configured. There is a bit of long-term storage that's required. Information about each keep that you're a member of needs to be in persistent storage. This field just sets the path for that persistent storage. Bootstrap peers, when you bring your node up for the first time, you need to have some peers in this list. This list tells your client which nodes to reach out to on the network when it first boots up to try and get connected to the P2P network. So it's really important that you have both a really diverse list of peers here so that you can bootstrap just in case one or more peers in your list is down. You need just at least one that's online. For the sake of this demo, I just have one. And the list announced addresses, I'm not going to go through that right now. It doesn't necessarily need to be set. And then TSS params, we won't go through that either. But once you have the prepared configuration file, and again, this actual file that's set up and ready to go is available in the documentation that goes with the demo, so you can take a look at that. But once you have your config set up, we want to grab the latest image for Ropsten from our Docker repository. So I want to pull that down. I already have it on my machine, so it's there. And the last thing we want to do is we actually want to run our Docker image. So we have this big, scary Docker command, which was prepared to run this locally. Let's see. That's our old account, or our new account that hasn't been staked yet. So I'm going to get rid of all of those changes, and we'll try again with the account that we prepared earlier. All right. So when your Keep ECDSA node starts up, there's a few things that you want to check for. First is your own address. So if you want to advertise yourself as a peer, you'll need to make sure that you get your actual address here out of the little rectangular box when the client starts up. The other thing you want to check for is to make sure that you've established a connection to at least one of the peers that's in your list that I mentioned earlier in the peers list and configuration. We can see here that we've established a connection to this peer, so that's a good sign. And the next thing you want to check for on your ECDSA node is that you're generating primes. Primes are used for signing. I won't go into the details of that, but as long as you connected to at least one peer and you're generating primes, you're good to go, and your Keep node is online. And then that's it, and you're ready to roll on Ropsten. So I really appreciate the time, y'all, and sorry for the funky internet connection and the fact that Ropsten wasn't cooperating the whole way, but I certainly appreciate it. And I'm going to pass back to Matt now to close this out.
Excellent. Let me get my screen shared, and we will knock this thing out. Cool. This is Sloan. Those were the things you needed. Seriously, thanks, Sloan. I appreciate the time. Everyone, Sloan is from in the middle of woods/beach, so pretty awesome that he was able to get this out for us. Okay, so you'll want to stick around for this. Here it goes. So first, here's the correct rewards curve. So earlier, it said in month 4 there was $20 million USD. It's actually 20 million Keep that's going out in month 4. So I think what you guys all are going to want to take away from this is, again, month 3 to 7, which is what the Stakedrop will be covering, is yours for the taking. This is 20% of the supply. So via the last private sale, it's around $24 million. And excited to see you guys get in here and actually take this. Some key dates, again, that I want to drive home. Today, earn Keep by staking on testnet. June, and then also joining Playing for Keeps, which if you join Discord, you can hear more about. June 29th, the ETH-only staking dashboard will go live. July 8th, the ETH-only staking goes live. And then also between June 8th and July 8th, you'll see a new random beacon get launched. And you'll also see TBTC RC1 going live. So here are some resources for you guys. I really have to say, more than anything else, join Discord. We're nice. We don't bite. We have a whole bunch of folks who are writing guides and helping people stake. If this stuff seems like totally outside of what you're able to do, just talk to some people and see, because it might not be. It's not as hard as it looks. So that Discord is chat.keep.network. We've got a ton of staking guides and docs. So please check those out. You can take all of this out after we send out the slides. So if you're on a roll, we actually have office hours. So Chris will share more details in the chat, but we are available to help you get going live and staking on Ropsten. And the reason that's so important, right. And also finally, if you don't have ETH, we still want you to be involved. So if you have the technical skills to run a node, do it on Ropsten. Consider translating, consider writing code, illustrating, helping build the community, evangelizing, really whatever you think you can bring to this decentralized network, you should. Every month, Playing for Keeps has a set of judges who are actually giving out Keep to folks, even if you don't have ETH staked. So check it out. And then there's some further documents that we'll publish shortly on that as well. And then finally, we're so close to done here. Playing for Keeps. So in the first month, we gave out 1 million Keep, which at the last private sale price was $120,000. Over the whole Playing for Keeps, we'll be giving out 10 million Keep. This month is 2 million. So it's going to be big. And we're not screwing around. Of 115 applicants last month, 55 won over 1,000 Keep. So finally, drum roll, let's do something fun. You get some Keep. Everybody gets some Keep. I know this was a long presentation. I know a lot of this is pretty technical and it's hard to get through. We will have follow-up material with everything. But everyone on this call will get 500 Keep. Anyone who can show that they've staked on Ropsten by the end of the day tomorrow is going to get 500 Keep. That means anyone on the Discord who hasn't already gotten an award through Playing for Keeps, anyone who's on this call, it's going to be big. So this is just something to get you guys started, but we will follow up briefly with instructions on how to claim your Keep. So here's the eligibility. You have to join Discord. Do that ASAP. Obviously you're in the Crowdcast now, and get staking on testnet, and we'll get you some money. So thank you so much. You can follow me on Twitter at MHLuongo. If you'll notice in the chat, there's a Google form for claiming your Keep. So get in there, and then we'll also be posting how to join Zoom and learn how to stake. Because remember, if you want to claim this prize, let's be clear, you need to stake. Thank you so much, guys.
Hey, Matt, do you want to go through the Ask a Question tab and just see if there's...
Yeah, let's knock it out. Okay, so first, Cardano sorted staking on the proof of stake algorithm. Really, I think what matters here is minimum stakes. So here's how min stakes work. There's not one built into the protocol. So actually, it's so much more complicated than that. If you're staking Keep, the minimum is 100,000 Keep. If you're staking ETH for the stake drop, there is no explicit minimum. Instead, you have to have at least 50% of the smallest deposit size. So the reason for that is the way TBTC deposits work. If you don't have a certain amount of ETH, it's just not useful. You can't collateralize a deposit. Thank you. So I'm watching the troll box and I'm only reading the things that are nice. So if you put up, I think the smallest lot size is 0.001 BTC. That's a tiny amount. I doubt many people will actually open that on TBTC. But if you have half of that in ETH, you can earn some rewards on it. Let's keep knocking out some of these questions. How does it work? Skipping it. Who are some of the private investors? Okay, guys, let's do this. In fact, if you all want a little bit of preview on some of our disclosure information, here it comes. So private investors that we've disclosed at various times: Andreessen, Polychain, Paradigm. I think Fabric Ventures has been fantastic. Finbushi. Honestly, it's something like 45 separate firms. They're all fantastic. It's very difficult. Draper Associates, it's very difficult to list them all on a list, and some of them would prefer to remain private. So I planned on keeping that. But yeah, we've had some great private purchasers. All private purchasers are required to stake on mainnet, and all of them have a 6-month to 2-year lockup. It's also worth knowing that everyone on the team has a 2-year to 4-year lockup. We also have on-chain vesting. So in addition to the legal lockup, it's pretty damn difficult to sell for a long time. So let me see. Other questions we've got here. Let's see. Just hold ETH. So you guys are still around. So I imagine you know that the answer to staking here is not just hold ETH. You actually need to run a node and be involved. I won't beat a dead horse, but if anyone else has questions around that. What is the problem that Keep aims to solve? So there's a couple answers. So I think the first, which is the general answer, is Keep was built to solve a particular kind of privacy issue on Ethereum. In particular, if you want to store something like a social security number or a gift card number or any personally identifying information, credit card stuff from an Ethereum smart contract, you can't do it. You would be foolish to. You're publishing it to everyone. So Keep was built using multi-party computation to solve those sort of data custody issues in a way that was compatible with smart contracts. But as we built out, we finished our beacon, we started finishing ECDSA Keeps, we realized we should build the first app ourselves. And the first app that we built on Keep is TBTC. So the problem that Keep is solving is pretty wide, and it's really a developer platform. But the problem that TBTC is solving is incredibly narrow. Bring Bitcoin to Ethereum. Let's see, other stuff, other questions. Maximum stake. There is no maximum stake. Our whale protection is the fact that most people have no idea what the fuck they're doing. You guys right now, I know some of you might be confused after watching Sloan's presentation, but you're miles ahead of the majority of people in the space. You're miles ahead of most whales in understanding how Keep staking works. Use that. This is your opportunity to get great yield. Speaking of, what will be the yield using Keep's latest valuation? So I have no idea if this private valuation holds or what the market will say. So I typically have a policy of not speaking about prices, just to be clear. But as far as yield goes, we're talking about 20% of the supply over 24 months, and then 10% of the supply over the first 6 or 7. So that should give you an idea. If a ton of people participate, like the projections I've seen from groups like Bison Trails, the ROI is pretty incredible. If no one participates, the ROI is just out of this world because of how the mechanism is structured. So it would take a lot of interest for the ROI to not be good. That said, I suggest you check out Bison Trails documentation that they put together. I would much rather someone else, talk about ROI than our team push it. We're just trying to focus on the tech. Let's see, what other questions do we have in here? How to acquire Keep, stake. So stake your ETH on mainnet, join Ropsten now. Everyone on this call is going to get 500 Keep for being on this call and for staking on Ropsten. There are probably other places you can get it, but they're few and far between. The token is incredibly illiquid right now because we've locked up almost every single person who has tokens. Let's see, what else do we have? So we can get Keep using the Ropsten network. Yes. If TBTC isn't live, signers don't have any work to do, do they? That is a fantastic question. So the short answer is yes, you're correct. Part of the reason we're starting the stake drop on Ropsten and then moving over to mainnet is because we want ETH-only staking to go live shortly after TBTC goes back up. Right now, stakers who are staking Keep can actually run the random beacon, but ETH-only stakers cannot run TBTC until it's back live. So how are rewards distributed? For folks who are on Ropsten, how do you know who's on this call? Anyway, ignoring that. For folks who are on Ropsten, you are going to get Keep based on how you do and just based on the fact that you got up. For folks who already have Keep, they're earning rewards now by putting down ETH. Happy to answer this question in more detail if you guys want to drop anything in the chat. What is the address of the Keep faucet? I have absolutely no idea. I'm so sorry. Sloan probably does and might be able to drop that in there. Let's see. It's only stake. We need to run. So just it's only stake. You do need to run a node. You need to run an instance that needs to stay online. Now it doesn't have to stay online all the time, but it does need to have fairly good uptime. And I would suggest you really understand what you're doing before you put money in. This is not like a lock drop where you just put in ETH and you earn. It's not a passive thing. You have to get involved. Yes, so thank you, Victor, for joining. Bison Trails, Staked, Figment, and some of the other staking providers have done a great job covering the various holes that our team has left in documentation. So please do check out the Keep active participation and stake drop stuff. As far as an operator address, I'm jumping everywhere. As far as an operator address, just answering our question there, Ryan, you need to follow the staking directions to get an operator address. If you're on the call and you get an operator up, you get 500 keep. Have to get an operator up. It doesn't have to work well, conveniently. Let's see. I'm going to talk a little bit in detail about operators because clearly but I'm going to cover some other stuff that's fun first. Does Keep run behind NATs? We are using libp2p, which means that you can make Keep work behind NATs. If that question makes no sense to you, it may or may not apply to you. But because we're using libp2p, we can deal with some fairly gnarly networking situations. It's just that it's not all documented for Keep in particular. So zooming back into what an operator address is. The way that Keep staking works is that you have your Keep or your ETH for ETH-only staking, and that's called the holder. And then you create a few new accounts. One is the operator, and that's the account of your node. Another is the authorizer, and that's the account of someone who says you will or will not stake for a particular protocol. And the last is the beneficiary, and the beneficiary is the account that receives rewards. A lot of these can end up being the same account if that's how you want to set it up. We've got guides where you can read in more detail about each of these pieces, but happy to answer questions here. What else? What's Keep's market value? I don't know. It's not a liquidly traded token, so we don't really know what Keep's market value is. In 2019 and early 2020, there was a private sale for 12 cents a token, but we'll see what the market believes. Thank you, Victor, for covering the no ETH minimum. Are there country restrictions? This is a great question. Are there country restrictions to participate in staking? Absolutely not. So the company obviously has to follow all local regulations, OFAC. If we are giving out large rewards that the company is, we will have to KYC anyone who wins, for example, 100,000 Keep. One of the largest rewards will be bending over backward. But if you were staking in the Stakedrop, we can't stop you. We're just not in the middle. So so there aren't any country restrictions because we can't add any. So I think the answer is no. In playing for Keeps and stuff on Ropsten where the company will have to play, then yes, it's difficult for us with some countries. We are working very hard though. For example, we've got some community members in Belarus. We're trying really hard to make sure that we can be fair to folks in different jurisdictions. It's just, if you're in Iran, you're sort of out of luck. Best link for documentation. So thank you. Those are in fact the GitHub repos. I would say get on Discord and check the pinned messages. Though that's really going to be the most useful thing. And yes, thank you, Victor. That is a fantastic link for the Stakedrop or for the staking guide. In Discord, just go to the channel is staking and then click pinned messages. And there's actually like 3 or 4 guides that we've got pinned. Other stuff, but it would be good to expand on the penalties for downtime. Yes, so let me talk a little bit about slashing and seizures. So if you are only staking ETH, so if you're staking in the Stakedrop on mainnet, not on Ropsten, which will have testnet Keep, the way that slashing works is it really doesn't. So there's not normal slashing on mainnet the way that you would expect from like a full proof of stake system. Instead, what happens is let me see the best way to put this. If you're hacked and you maliciously sign the wrong thing, your ETH will be seized. So if you're colluding with someone else to steal Bitcoin, you will lose your ETH full stop. Otherwise, the only way you lose ETH is if the ETH BTC price drops precipitously and you don't respond, or if for some reason someone asks for their Bitcoin back and you don't give it to them. So your job as a staker is to sign messages when you're told to. And if your node is offline and someone asks you to sign a message, then you could be slashed for that. So those are really the issues. I have no idea if CoinGecko's price is right, guys. I got to tell you, I'm not the market. Sorry, I just have no idea how people value things. Like, I don't know what this bed behind me is worth either. Economics are complicated. Oh, good. Cole from Staked is here too. Excellent. So where is this video going to be posted? I'm going to let Chris answer that question, but I hope we'll be able to get it on YouTube. Other things, just because the CoinGecko thing came up, I heavily recommend, like CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko really don't have enough data. This is a highly illiquid token right now. So again, I'm not going to share a bunch of price opinions, but it's an early project. If you want to get hold of Keep, you should stake. Everything else, it might be a fake token. The price could be ridiculous. I don't know. So just, you're going to want to stake. What else? What else? Checking other questions. Looks like we've got 3 or 4 more that have popped up. What is the ETH stake to earn drop ratio? So that's a really good question. It's not a lock drop. So it's not just how much ETH you put in, it's how well you do staking. But the short answer is, what is the short answer? You know what? I'm going to recommend that you check out Bison Trail's rewards analysis that I've seen them do, because the answer for ROI is complicated. It looks good, but I'll just refer you to someone else, because it's not just a straightforward 1 to 2 or something like that. Operator address in the Google form is Ropsten. It should not be mainnet, just to be clear. Can I use one operator address for a few stream users? It's quite difficult to pool money into one operator. It's not possible for Keep, but it is possible for ETH. So if you do want to do that, make sure you know what you're doing and practice on Ropsten first. That said, I do know a number of staking providers are pulling something similar to that. It's pretty cool. Okay, other questions. Oh, and as far as Uniswap charges continuing to increase, that's just a new version of Uniswap. You can always use Uniswap v1 and not worry about fees. Yeah, exactly. Hayden, they hard coded the fees in the first version, so just like you don't need to use the newer one. Okay, no maximum stake. Yes, there'll be a guide. Minimum. Oh, what about audit? Okay, here's a great question. What about audit? So audit details. So we got a 6-week audit from, oh gosh, and I realize I'm about to be on a call. We got a 6-week audit from Consensus Diligence. They're a great team. They caught some good stuff, but it wasn't as exhaustive as we would have liked. And you know, an audit is not a guarantee of security. So we're deep in the middle of an audit right now with Trail of Bits. I'm actually about to leave this call to get on with them. And in fact, I don't know if you guys know Sam Sun, but we made sure that we got, as well as the rest of the Trail of Bits team, Sam Sun to go directly over TBTC and some of our other code. They've been fantastic so far. We'll have a report for you soon. But in the meantime, if you just check out the TBTC repo, Sam's just opening up issues as he finds them directly on the repo. We asked him to just do it in public. And then we also recently got an audit from Sergey Delgado on the Bitcoin side. Thank you so much, Chris, for putting up those audits from Consensus. So yeah, we will have had 3 audits over, I would say in a few days, we'll have the report for the last one. Quite excited about that. So I have to bounce. I'm going to have to get into a call right now, actually, with Trail of Bits. And so what I will recommend to you guys, some parting thoughts, is first, get on Discord. It really is where all of the community is congregating right now. We are working hard to answer questions as quickly as we can. Chris will post details about office hours where you can actually get a little bit more help. And yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to get involved and join the community. Okay, Chris, it's back to you.
All right, thanks everybody for joining. That wraps up the event today. We appreciate all of you taking the time, and we hope to help you guys all get on the testnet as well as mainnet. So if you need any help, I'm just grabbing the link right here for the Zoom call. I'm in there right now, but we'll be joining in to help you guys get get staking. We've got a few different community members. We'll be in there, and if nothing else, we are always on Discord. Make sure to join our Discord server, and we have various channels in there dedicated to helping people get up and going and answer questions. So thank you again so much for joining, and we'll see you in the channels. Thanks.